Hey guys, it's Matt from Metal Wani, and I am joined by Mr. Max Cavalera. Welcome to London. How's it going, man?
Good to be here, man.
You're obviously out here on the Return to Roots tour. It started in, was it Latin America where you started with it?
Canada.
Started in Canada in the north, and then have you done Latin America yet?
We're going after here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. How's it all been going so far?
Great. The shows are all packed. I think people are really curious, and it's kind of a nice time to be a little bit nostalgic about the past, and people want to hear this record. It was done 20 years ago, and it was very important in the metal world, and I think we do really a good justice by playing as good as we can play, and it sounds really killer, and everybody that comes to the show is having a great time, and including us, which is the point of all this. You have to enjoy yourself.
Of course.
It's not just work,
And one of the biggest complaints that musicians seem to have about on the road is like being away from the family. You sort of resolved that by just bringing yours with you. You've got Igor on drums, you've brought Gloria as your manager.
Right.
How much better is it working with your family on the tour?
Well, I always had family around. I don't know. Not all of my kids. I still have kids at home. Zion and Igor at home. So I still miss them and stuff. But it's nice to have Gloria around, and I think it's cool to we're on the few bands that have our manager on the road with us. So any problems, she's right there on top to fix it. So it's a good advantage. And of course, playing with Igor is great. My brother, and I love him. And I formed Sepultura with him, and we did all that. We didn't speak for 10 years. We're back now, and in the best terms we can be. So it's fantastic. So our relationship is better than ever. But I'm very kind of proud that my family is very metal oriented. Everybody in the family is metal, loves metal, and it works for metal. So it's nice. It's good to have that.
What would your reaction be if one of your sons was growing up and said, "I'm into pop"?
Yeah. What can you do, man? Tragic. Hopefully with time you see the value of metal and get back into the fold. But it's whatever they want to do that makes them happy. I think that's the most important lesson you can teach your children is. For me, I think that's the key element of success. More important than even selling records or even being famous is to do what you love, And then if you do what you love, you're successful. And then other things comes with it, but it's not exactly why you do it. I don't do it for gold albums. I don't do it for be the best-selling artist. It's more about for the music, for the fans. Between us and the fans and the music, there's a big thing that unites all of us, and that's the most important.
And speaking of the fans, obviously Roots is very much a fan favourite for fans of both yourself and Sepultura in general. What do you think it is about the album that makes fans sort of in particular prefer that one potentially?
I think Roots was what I like about is the kind of quality of a pioneer record. At the same time, it was kind of a risk album, an album that took risks. I think every time you do a record like that you putting yourself on the line. You're not just repeating something that already worked, because that's very easy to do. Make a record that it's already successful, you just do something similar, and you're gonna reap the benefits of that. But do something different that you have not done before and succeed. That's very hard and kind of dangerous a little bit. So I think people react that to Roots had this kind of, it was innovative. It was an innovative album. It shows a different way to make metal, blending percussion and metal, but yet still very heavy in its core. I think the core of Roots, stuff like Speed, Cutthroat, Stray Hate, Roots, Bloody Roots. There's, of course, the classics, Roots, Bloody Roots, Attitude, Ratamahata. But Roots is a journey album. I think also you should hear the whole thing all the way through. It's a bit of a lost art form these days. People don't have the patience to listen to whole records anymore. But I advise Roots is worth it. Listen to the whole thing like a journey.
Yeah.
It is kind of a journey, kind of an album.
And it's an album that's got lots of like influences from Brazilian native music on it. Like you talk about Ratamahata, that's got a lot of that on it. What is the heavy metal scene like in Brazil, and how much has it changed since you were starting out as a young man?
It's always been big. Metal, rock, Brazilian like rock. I think Alice Cooper was there in '73, and it sold out stadium. The soccer stadium. And after that, Queen came, and Kiss, Van Halen. They're all playing stadiums. Rock in Rio was the big revelation. We had Rock in Rio 1 was 7 nights of festival, including pop nights and Brazilian nights, and they had a heavy metal night. And the heavy metal night oversold all the other nights like twice. And so it was like all of a sudden all the news people were talking like Brazil is a country that loves heavy metal. They just figured that out. And we were kids. We grew up with that. With that kind of, we were one of those kids that loved metal and wanted to do something with our lives, something different. But it took us to go all the way outside Brazil to see the value of Brazilian stuff and mixing with our own music. And that's why I think Roots is an interesting album, because we already done the thrash thing, we already done the death metal, thrash metal thing, black metal, and so it was nice to go back to something that was not done before, mixing Brazilian elements in metal. It was quite exciting.
Was that a thing that you decided to do? Like you just woke up one day and said, we're going to make this sound more Brazilian, or was it more natural, I guess?
No, it was gradually. It actually started on Arise. Some of the intros of Arise were done with this guy, I forgot his name, but it was computer, electronic music, but we wanted to have some kind of tribal feeling to it, like a movie atmosphere. And I remember, I think some of the examples we used for the Arise was actually Predator. There's some really cool music on Predator, and the Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
And so I think the intro of Altered States was kind of like that. And then growing to Chaos AD, we went even further. Igor started experimenting with beats in his drum kit. Had it's called tambor. It's like on a side, you have the snare and you have this thing that goes ta 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 ta. It sounds very Brazilian. He started fucking around with that. So that gave the intro for Refuse Resist, Territory, and of course we did Kaiovas, which was about a tribe and instrumental, acoustic. We recorded in Chepstow Castle in Wales. We always liked these wild, crazy ideas. What's a Brazilian metal band doing a song about a tribe in a Welsh castle? It's complete mad, it doesn't make any sense, but it's cool because we like that. And then, of course, that led into Roots. Roots was the one that was like, and we were listening to some Brazilian stuff at the time that was very cool, like Raimundos and Chico Science and Shake Tosado. You probably don't know these bands, but they were kind of like mixing metal and Brazilian stuff, and we were listening to that. Kind of borrow a little bit of that influence into the making of Roots.
And Roots came out obviously in 1996 when sort of the new metal style was getting traction in America, and sort of Roots is sort of considered one of the first albums of that. Do you consider it an album of the new metal style?
Yes and no. I think if new metal is Slipknot, System of a Down, Deftones, then yeah, I think I can see the influence of Roots in those bands. But if you're talking about more like Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, then I don't really see much of Roots in it. But I think Roots influenced much more than that. I think it influenced Norway, like the Norwegian bands that like Slave and Immortal, they would start singing about Vikings and shit, about their own roots. I think it was kind of inspired by that. I think Melekash from Israel was inspired by Roots. So I think his Roots is really kind of influenced a lot of different shit, not just new metal, which I'm proud of it.
And do you have plans to perform any other album in its entirety on a tour like this, or do you think it's only really Roots that deserves this amazing celebration that you're giving it?
Well, we haven't done yet. Of course, it's been asked, and of course we have to wait and see. We have other projects. I have Soulfly next year, 20 years of Soulfly. I'm trying to make a really cool record out of it. And we have the Cavalera Conspiracy still going, and Killer Be Kill. I like to make a second record of Killer Be Kill. But at the same time, I would love to hear other records like Arise, Chaos AD. Would be fantastic if we could play like we did Roots, because it's very successful, very cool, and very unique idea that really works. And now that we try it and we know it works, we can do others. So yeah. The future will tell, but I think for now we're gonna stick with Roots for a little bit. I think even next year we're doing a little bit more of the Roots tour, and then we go from there. See what happens.
Bringing up the new Soulfly album, how's it coming along? How far are you along with it?
I'm on the riffs now,
Okay.
So it's building riffs right now, and I think it's gonna be good. It's a very interesting record. I think I'm listening to a variety of stuff right now, all the way from Nails, Full of Hell, to some more kind of brutal stuff like Abat and Watain, and so it's I think it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be it's kind of a I don't give a fuck record. Like, I don't give a fuck what's popular. I want to just do what I love.
That's the best kind of record, isn't it?
Yeah, right? I think that those are the ones that work, man. When you don't give a shit about what people are liking, but you're doing what you like, what you think you should do. And I'm going to follow that on the Soulfly.
Is that the attitude you had going into Roots? Just the I don't give a fuck what anyone else is doing?
Pretty much, because it was kind of a risk taking, and I remember now it's a big album. Now it's a legendary album, but it wasn't when it came out, and not everybody was happy with it. There were some people that were, kind of like, oh, fuck, man, it's not trash, But what I like about Roots, and I think it's similar to stuff happened with Entombed. Entombed is one of the few examples of band that I think that could do that, had the death metal era, and then progress into this kind of rock and roll, black metal rock and roll. It's really killer, and it's exciting, and not everybody can do it. So I think Roots is kind of like that. It's showing people there's different ways to make metal, and we're proud of our rise and Beneath the Remains, Schizophrenia, but we just want to show a different side of the band that we have, and I think that's the most important thing. But I always had that kind of, fuck off attitude. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna do what I think feels right. I think it's the only way to succeed. I think if you try to please everybody, that's when you lose track, man. Because you can't please everybody. There's always gonna be some people that are not gonna like what you do, no matter what. When we did Bachelor Devastation, our first EP, there were some pissed off fans who were like, they're not demo anymore. They suck. They sell out. You're always going to be accused of that shit. So you can't let that go through your head,
Yeah.
So, I'm proud of it. I wouldn't change anything. I think it's good, I think I consider Roots and Soulfly one probably some of the most challenging records I've done in my whole career. They're like real challenge, and it was really interesting to make them happen. And I'm glad I stick to the guns and went for it rather than just go, let's just play safe. Fuck play safe. You know, this is rock and metal. It's supposed to be a little bit dangerous.
Amen.
You know?
And bringing up the first Soulfly record, and obviously you said 20th anniversary of Soulfly next year. Are you? Do you have any plans for a tour with Soulfly next year?
I hope so. You know,
Yeah.
we have a great band with Zion playing drums now, and he's getting just amazing on drums. And Mike from Havoc's playing bass, and this is gonna be his first record he's gonna record with us. And of course Mark Rizzo, and so it's hope we can make a really kick-ass record and go on tour with it and play like a lot of festivals and stuff like that. You know, that would be the best scenario, I think, for Soulfly.
It would be cool to hear a lot of stuff from the first record as well, to act as that celebration. That time.
Yeah, we do a lot of that too, so that would be kind of cool, like maybe a mix of the first album and whatever we have new at the time, and play the two together back to back would be kind of cool. You know?
That would be cool. That would work pretty well. And speaking of new stuff, obviously touring with Igor at the moment. Have you guys spoken about ideas for the new Cavalera Conspiracy record?
There's one idea that we want to try to do that we've never done before, which is spend more time with a record, and that kind of goes back to the old Sepultura days of writing albums, we took more time to. A lot of the Cavalera stuff, we just go in the studio and record. It's like trial by fire.
Spontaneous.
Very spontaneous, and it's cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's some amazing magic shit that happened. I think Inflicted was great. Pandemonium was like this real heavy and brutal, and but I think if I spend some time with Igor before going in the studio, at least like a month jamming with him, I think we can do something even more special and make a different album that people are not expecting, and I think that would be quite cool for us at this point of our career. It would be something that the fans, I think, will really appreciate, you know.
Is there ever any like sibling rivalry between you and Igor? Is there ever any fighting or butting heads as brothers?
Not much, you know. There's like sometimes just little stuff, but most of the time we get along pretty good. We always did, actually, even when we were kids. We like the same stuff, so we like the same music. So even today, we always, you know, showing each other's different stuff of what we listen to, and it's really cool. You know, we keep that, you know. So it's more kind of like, it's funny that we don't really disagree much. We are more agreeable than most other brothers that I see that fight a lot, you know.
Yeah. And the one last project we need to talk about, Killer Be Killed. You said that you're starting to think about the second record.
Right.
How far along? Have you been in touch with the other members? How far along are you with that?
Yeah, I've been in touch with Greg. I keep in touch with Greg most of it. Troy's kind of hard. Like I called Troy and he called me back 2 months after. You know, he's kind of like that. You know, he's always busy. So, but Greg is on the last Dillinger tour right now. And they're on their farewell tour, and so I think he's gonna have more time for Killer Be Killed after he's done with Dillinger, which I think is a good thing for Killer Be Killed. And hopefully we can get also Troy on board, motivated, so we can make the second record. I think we can make it even better than the first one. I really believe, because I know the guys now better. I know how much I can push them musically and lyrically. I think we can make a deeper, bigger, more powerful record than the first one, and hopefully with a better album cover, because that album cover sucks.
It's not great, is it?
No, it's not. I was very disappointed. I wanted like Pusshead or Repka, you know, one of those great painting guys, you know. Or we had an image of an Israeli tank that was really cool with all these guns and shit, you know. And but those guys just like that guy that looks like a Polish farmer. I don't fucking know. It's my least favorite album cover of all time. So I hope the next one we do a good album cover.
You got to have the tank on the next one.
Yeah, because I'm big on album cover. I love Archangel. I think Soulfly Archangel was fantastic.
That's a great album.
Yeah. That Eliran Cantor, man, he's on fire. He's done Testament, Crowbar. I think he's doing a new Immolation.
Yeah.
Immolation news, a new one also. So he showed me parts of it. He was just in Berlin hanging out. He's a good guy. So I'm probably gonna keep working with him for Soulfly. And I always wanted to work with Puzzhead because I always liked the old Puzzhead skulls and shit.
Yeah,
you know?
they're great.
So maybe something like that for Cavalera or Killer BQ would be really cool. You know, anything would be better than the abomination of a cover that we had.
Yeah. And one last question before we wrap up. You're considered like this, I guess, this seminal and very influential figure in heavy metal. I just sort of wanted to get your opinion on the state of heavy metal today, and do you think the future for metal is promising, or do you think it's going to fade and not quite be as good?
I think metal is always promising because it's the music that refuses to die. You know, it's like survivor music. You know, like other genres and trance come. You know, we did Roots and Chaos in the middle of the grunge when everybody was grunge, and metal it just doesn't die. And I think it's, you know, like right now I see a lot of potential in stuff, very underground stuff like Full of Hell and Nails, and I love a lot of the black metal stuff like Bozer and Magla and Infernal War and Rotten Sound, you know, from Finland, you know, and yeah, man, you know, I think it's the future looks good for metal. You know, I'm not like those guys. Oh, you know, there's only the gold days, you know, the trash days. People talk about the trash days, but I think it's just as good. I went to see Full of Hell with 1349, and it was fucking amazing, man. I was so happy to be there. You know, one of my favorite shows I've seen in the last couple of years. You know, so I was like very happy that this music is alive and doing good, you know, and it will kick ass for forever. You know, whenever there's a couple kids pissed off for the world with their guitar saying "fuck you" somewhere, it's gonna be good.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for your time today, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No problem.
Max Cavalera, everyone. Thank you.